Well, Alana said
Hi, Mark.
she'd give us a tutorial, so that would be good. So why don't we start with the application, Andy's application, right? Is it Andy?
Yes,
Which is that?
that's 183 Main Street.
All right, just tell me the address because I don't have the person's name on my.
It's the one with the across from Main Course. That property?
Okay, it's like across from where the
Convenient deli.
cupcake place used to be.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, Main Street.
Right.
Okay.
Okay,
So
should I just kind of describe what I'm trying to do?
yeah.
Okay, so I bought this property 2 years ago and it was kind of all overgrown and I'd done a lot of work to it, cleaning it up. And we're to a point now where there's a few trees that we don't think are the greatest trees and they're getting in the way of doing some other things with the property. And so we like to cut them down. So I'm just going to kind of go through the different trees. There's 3 of them are Norway maples. The first one, which I found out actually it may not even be under the jurisdiction of this board because it's more than 20 feet, is at the southeast corner of the building. It gets chopped every which way. It's got power lines running through it, so it gets chopped. It's hanging on my building, so I had to cut it on that side. The garbage truck comes through for the Indian restaurant on the other side, and it gets chopped that way, so it's just gets beaten consistently. And it's also preventing, I want to do solar panels, so it's blocking like half the sunlight to the building. So that's the first one. The second one is at the southeast corner right next to the driveway between me and Fleet. And that's a tree that I wanted to cut down about 15 years ago when I didn't even own this property. It was always just kind of this weird looking crazy tree that got trimmed so heavily by Central Hudson that it just always looked so odd. And it's another one that has so many power lines around it that it really just like, it gets butchered.
All right. Are you listening to? Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Sorry.
It's all right. Was that the guy who was petitioning
Yes.
the tree?
This is Andy. He is the person who has the application for taking down 5 trees near the cupcake place. So he's talking right now. Sorry, Andy.
Can she hear me?
Can you hear? You can't hear?
I can't hear anything. I hear you through my phone.
All right. Well,
You on my, maybe put me on speaker.
you are on speaker.
Oh, but I can't hear anybody else.
Okay. Oh, you know what? All right. Sorry. I have to take my ear. I have to. Hold on. Disengage. All right. I have to get out of my earbud. Hold on a second. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I didn't get, last time when we had this, I was on it fine, but it was not the same thing. It wasn't the Zoom thing.
I have to take.
You got it. You got it.
All right. Can you hear now, Shelley, everybody?
Yeah.
Say something.
Okay. So say something, people, please.
Hi.
Hey.
Okay. Got it. Okay. We're
Hi,
okay. Yep. Sorry about that. I had the earbuds in. Didn't think about it. All right. Go ahead.
Okay, so I was just going through, let me back up a second. I'm a civil engineer, so this is kind of what I do for a living is plans like this. This is my building and my office is in the bottom floor. I'm here with Eileen Travis, who's my landscape architect, who's been doing this for 30 something years. She also helps me on all my projects for work. So we're both here to answer any questions. So it's kind of just going through the trees. The 2 Norway maples on the southeast end just get really butchered by the power lines. So I wanted to take both those out. I also understand they're also invasive species, Norway maple. And then kind of moving along to the west, there's a very nice honey locust right in the middle that we're not going to touch at all. It's a nice tree. Moving to the corner, there is a ash-leafed maple. Did I get that right, Eileen?
Yes.
No, you didn't. It's a box elder.
It's called both. Same thing.
Okay. Whatever it is, it's almost dead. It's got a couple of branches that are kind of hanging over the sidewalk. It's a miserable looking tree as far as I'm concerned. And then moving to down Mill Rock to the north, there's a catalpa tree that's right next to a tree that we want to keep. It's a triple, what kind of elm? Siberian?
Yes.
Very now.
Which is a really nice tree, but the catalpa is kind of drowning it out, and the catalpas get so giant, as we know, it just doesn't really fit in that space. And then there's a small, another Norway maple at the corner of the driveway that we want to take out. And this application is not just taking out trees, but we're also on sheet 2, what we submitted is a landscape plan. We want to take these out, we want to preserve the trees that we like, and we want to build upon it by planting a red bud at the corner, and then a Chinese fringe tree, which closer to the driveway. We're also going to do a rain garden. One of the things that we make all my applicants or my clients do is these rain gardens to comply with DEC stormwater regulations. So I'm kind of setting an example here. I don't have to do it, but I'm going to do it to absorb all the stormwater and clean the stormwater. And part of that is building is planting around the rain garden. So not only the 2 trees, but we're proposing another 150 other small plants and shrubs in that whole area. And I see this as really getting rid of the trees that really aren't the greatest trees in the world, and planting the right trees there, and kind of and doing it the right way, I guess. So that's about it. We feel like this is a really big improvement. I mean, I think I've showed that I want this property to be beautiful, and this is the next step.
The tree that I questioning with the most with removal is the one on what would it be? It would be the one near the entrance to your parking lot. And that seems to have a decent enough shape as it is, and it does provide some shade for the street. The others that you mentioned, I don't feel like I have the expertise, although I do understand, and I've seen the kind of butchering that the trees have gone through Central Hudson, and the wires. That's always a problem.
Yeah. So Eileen actually took a closer look, because I know you did mention that last meeting that about that tree. Eileen took a closer look at it today, and she found some. Eileen, you want to talk a little bit about that tree?
All right. First of all, I want to preface this by saying that I really don't like taking trees down. Norway maples, however, are considered invasive in this area, and I'm not saying remove them all. I'm just saying that you need to be careful about, where they are in any kind of environment. All of these trees that we're talking about haven't been planted. These are trees that have volunteered and just grown on this project site, okay? So when I really looked at the Norway maple, because it really isn't a bad looking tree, but I went in to the very base of the tree just to see, once I really got close to it, what the condition was at the ground level. There are 2 cuts. One is starting to rot. It's a very small area of rot. And then there's another where there's a branch that was cut off, many years ago. It's starting to heal. The wound is healing, but there is rot right at the top. Now these 2 marks show up also on the base of an incredibly flared base. It is not a normal base to a Norway maple. The tree is also leaning significantly. It's approximately 30 to 35 degree lean towards the parking lot area. On the converse side of the lean, there is a significant mounding of earth. Now, leaning trees typically, you know, it's prone, it's like kind of like a pre-failure issue. You know, it's identifying that it's having some trouble and we just need to pay attention. So leaning trees you can normally correct, but this one is of a size where I'm not sure that it's prudent to correct it. Norway maples being invasive and prolific reseeders also have.
Maple at the beginning of the driveway?
Yes, it's approximately 5.8 inches in diameter at breast height. Now, the other thing is that in this area, there are several invasives. There's poison ivy, wild grape, there's bittersweet, mugwort, and I did also see some Japanese knotweed in there. Norway maples have very shallow root systems very close to the surface of the soil. So when we go to properly remove the invasives, we're going to really be disturbing the root systems on an already leaning tree that already has damage at the very base on a very odd flare. So I'm thinking that the tree is not worth saving. So, you know, that's my general opinion. I don't like taking trees down, but the Chinese fringe tree is a beautiful tree. It works well in rain garden areas. We want the rain garden to be a success. If we keep the Norway maple, the rain garden will not be a success because the root competition and the dense shade of a Norway maple will outcompete anything that we are planning to plant in the rain garden area.
And also we're doing this because, you know, this is more expensive for me to take that tree out and plant new. You know, we're doing this because we want to make it nicer. You know, we really believe that this is a better plan than keeping that Norway maple.
I have to say that the Norway maple you describe is not the one that I thought that I saw and have commented on it. At the entrance from Mill Rock into your driveway, into your parking area?
Yes.
Yes, that is the tree
Well, it stands alone. And it has no list. And perhaps that's a tree that you're going to spare, but I didn't find another Norway maple. You're talking about a Norway maple that's covered in bittersweet and leans at 35 degrees?
No, it is actually not covered in bittersweet. The invasives are on the ground level, and in order to remove them to put in a rain garden at the ground level, we would be significantly disturbing the root system right around the trunk of the tree and outward, you know, within the canopy area.
Okay. Well, part of the reason the Shade Tree Commission is protective of village trees is to maintain canopy in the village. And you know, a fringe tree is an ornamental tree, and it can be very nice, but it doesn't give canopy. It doesn't grow up and become a shade tree.
Well, you know, we could do something like a ginkgo if you think that would be acceptable. You know, I think that I agree that the fringe tree it can be very decorative, but it also like has wonderful fragrance. It's a very unusual tree, but you know, there are other possibilities, like, you know, maybe like Tupelo.
Well, if it's to be planted in that, if it's to be planted in that vicinity along the street, you know, it needs to be more of a street tree, where it grows up and out over passersby on the sidewalk, cars which may park nearby. You know, most ornamentals, such as the French tree, they grow stout and a rounded crown.
I understand the function of street trees. I think that a tupelo can be used in a street tree setting, as well as ginkgos being used. An autumn gold ginkgo is actually a sterile male, and it has no fragrance whatsoever, and they're like crazy beautiful.
There's a lot of ginkgos in Highland, and they do quite well. And did you mention tupelo?
Yes, tupelo are wonderful native trees.
That's a great tree. Its range is up into New York State, but I think it'll do, I know of several that have done fairly well.
Yeah, and it's kind of protected because there's a pin oak right across the street that really blocks significant like winter winds, coming through the site. So, and also the large thornless honey locust in the front, it'll create like a little micro, area, which should be a little bit warmer in the wintertime, which is generally, what you want to be concerned about with marginal trees for a zone. But I love tupelo trees. They have beautiful fall color and beautiful gray silvery bark. They're wonderful trees, and they would do very well in a rain garden area. And honestly, a tupelo, which is also called a black gum tree, they're a high value tree in comparison to something like a Norway maple. So you guys would actually, as a street tree, shade tree commission, would be gaining a much, much more valuable tree.
Yeah. Well, we have to be certain of that. We've heard that before, where one tree of dubious distinction is taken out with the promise of planting, newer, superior species. And we're still waiting in many cases to see that.
Well, Andy's been at this site for 2 years, and we did a landscape plan right when he moved in, and he's implemented the landscape plan almost immediately after he did modifications to the building for his office. And, Andy could probably speak to that a little bit more than me, but I would imagine he's usually a man of his word.
Yeah. Let me go on about the other trees before we bore the rest of the committee to death. The box elder is, in fact, a difficult species. It's not a total waste, but it probably should be removed, because even when you cut them back, clean them up, and make them nice in 3 years, you have generally newer issues with them. So that's one that I fully agree it should be removed and replaced with something of better quality. The two Norway maples, the one that's out in the wires by the sidewalk, is a disaster, and it's been mispruned. And of course, Central Hudson has control over the space 10 feet from the wires, so they're going to continue to cut it. So it has no chance, and that should be removed. The other Norway maple in the back, I don't think the shade tree has any jurisdiction over, but a skilled tree man, a skilled pruner, can make something of that by severely cutting it back from both sides of the building. It's not required, but it's just something to think about. As to the catalpa and the Asian elm, you kind of pick your poison there, because neither of them, or both of them, are going to need management over time. You want to see the Asian elm do well, remove the catalpa. If you are aware of the difficulties of an Asian elm, then maybe you want to remove it and maintain the catalpa. But that's your preference, and probably one of them should be removed. So maybe we need some input from somebody else at this point.
So I defer to the experts on what tree to plant. I kind of like the idea of actually a larger shade type tree. So if you guys like the tupelo, then let's do the tupelo. That seems like everybody likes that. Let's do it.
Sounds fine to me.
can you hear Shelley? Shelley thought that was a good idea. I don't know if you can hear her.
Yeah,
Can anybody else hear me? I don't know.
I can
Yes.
hear.
Yeah,
All right. I mean, I think we can make a decision. We have a lot of information.
yeah, I agree. So Tupelo, 2 to 2.5 inch caliber, right? Is the-
Sounds good to me.
A minimum of 2-inch caliber, yes.
Planted, I guess, in the fall, because I don't know, or now, but it would be hard on the tree. And then what about the removal of the box elder? How do we feel about that? Take it down? Yes?
Is that the one under the wires?
Yeah,
They're terrible.
that's one of the ones.
Yeah, I can take down the one under the wires.
Yeah, it's a very, very, not a very attractive tree, almost
No,
ever.
It's half dead and it's totally, encroaching on the wire.
And the Norway maple that is in our jurisdiction, we can agree to, that Andy would take that down as well? Is that what we all think?
I think so. It seems like they have a good plan in mind.
Okay, so shall we vote? Yes, all right, I'm in favor of the changes with the Tupelo on Mill Rock.
I agree.
Mark?
Mark, do you agree?
Yep. My mic is on, right? Yes, I approve. With the changes, I think it's a great idea.
Okay. That's it.
Yeah, so just in terms of I don't know if you printed out the application, Christine, so you
I
could.
did.
Okay, so maybe if you want to write that and you can sign it and you can drop it off at the village, or if you have a scanner, you can just scan it and send it to me. It's kind of up to you. I'm writing down everything you guys are saying in the minutes, but we should probably have for the record just a copy of, because I think there's a spot for your signature on there, I think.
Yeah, I'll have to drop it off. I don't have a scanner.
Okay, that's totally fine.
Okay, well, thank you for
Great.
coming.
And just letting you and Dwight and everybody know that, I work in this town, I live in this town, you're gonna see a Tupelo there. Absolutely.
Okay.
It may not be till the fall. I am gonna cut these down now and I'm gonna plant in the fall, but
Yeah, Andy does a lot of work with the village, so if he didn't follow through on this,
Yeah,
he'd be in a lot of trouble.
I never hear the end of it.
Okay, we all live here, so you're on the hook.
Right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Coming on.
Okay, so we also have Tom, and I'm sorry, I don't have your wife's name right in front of me. On
Oh, Tom, you're muted again.
Doris. These,
Yeah, I can see them
okay, you see them?
briefly. I saw
Okay.
them.
So lots of pruning and kind of rehabilitation that you want to do. Can you tell us a little bit about what you have in mind?
Yeah, what is it? It's 4 trees along Du Bois on our property there. And it starts with a honey locust that's got a lot of dead branches, junk branches in the crown. And we've, talked to various contractors and so on, and they all agree that it can be pruned, should be pruned. The second tree is we're sort of in a quandary on it. It's a box elder. It's very close to Du Bois. It may represent a safety hazard actually when people turn from Harrington onto Du Bois. The vision blocks vision.
Have been an accident and I keep cutting off the branches that are coming out and the shoots coming out on the bottom because you cannot take a look up the road. You can't
That's
see
my
anything.
opinion. I
But in
agree.
any case, it also has sort of dead branches and it, part of it is it might be removed as part of the bike path. So I'm not sure I want to pay for removing it, but we would prune the branches that are heading over You
The
know,
street, basically.
no, the ones heading on our property.
On the property,
those.
yeah.
But there's also cables running there where,
Right, I mean, Central Hudson comes through and does what they have to do. The third tree is the one that, it's a large, it's probably an invasive one, Norway maple that, it has 3 trunks. Everybody we've talked to sort of says that the joins of those 3 trunks are a weakness. 2 of the trunks lean towards our house. They're quite close to the house. So if there were a problem, they would topple onto the roof. And so we've been of the notion, we're not familiar with your charge or what the history of these things is, of just actually cutting all 3 trunks down to about 10 feet where they can become homes to more insects and birds and so on and so forth. There's other trees in the vicinity, so I don't think that there's that much of a shade reduction. There's very large maples on the other side of Du Bois. The next tree that we're talking about is a huge silver maple that we're not talking about cutting down. But again, it has sort of defunct branches on the top, and we think that should be pruned. So we're trying to do a match of sort of prudence and not go overboard.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question?
Go ahead. What's your question?
I noticed there is this lollipop-shaped oak tree that looks like a relatively newly planted tree that is directly under the wires. I'm just curious as to why that tree is young and looks new, was planted directly under the lines, the power line.
we didn't do that. We saw that too. We thought it was probably, it just grew out of an acorn or something.
It may
And
have
then let it grow.
When we moved in 5 years ago, there was sort of a hedge there. And it turned out that the hedge was made up of 3 or 4 different types of plants, including that oak tree.
Yeah.
So we removed everything else. And sort of on a whim, we left that. And,
It's just it's directly under the power line.
yeah, I mean,
Notice that?
sure, but it's sort of in the nature of it's having grown the way it was cut back to be part of that hedge. So we consider it sort of more a joke than anything else. But certainly if anybody considers it a problem, we would have no problem removing it.
Yeah, we have a lot of birds nesting in it. And so I think that's the other reason I keep cutting back the branches, that it stays small, but the birds go in every spring now and then nest in there. So
It's sort of we consider it a miniature.
I did note, when I saw the site, I did see the tree with the 3 trunks, and that is a weakness, certainly. Cutting it to 10 feet, I understand, Doris, what you're saying about the kind of the hospitable nature for nature. I don't know if that would work, 10 feet, then you would just have these 3 trunks that are 10 feet tall. It might be pollarded. I don't know if that would work. What do you all think?
I
Well, you
think
can
that
take
would
it.
go.
I'm sorry?
The 3-trunk tree, I think it's a mess and it should go. And it's all tangled up in the wires. That's my opinion. I've stated it.
But what do you think of the option of cutting it down to become a?
It's preferable to cutting it to 10 feet. Cutting it to 10 feet removes the entire crown and forces it to push out new growth as a maple tree, it wants to grow up and not be continually cut back as a shrub. So I would rather see it cut to the ground and replaced with a better quality tree somewhere else than
Okay.
actually just top to 10 feet. That's
Yeah,
a
then
practice
take
that's
it
no
out.
longer acceptable and is now strongly discouraged.
Okay. Who should we go to for recommendation for a replacement tree?
We have a
We
list
have-
actually. Yeah, I can send you a list that the Shade Tree Commission put together of recommended trees.
And how would that work at this current time? It's sort of like the previous person that it becomes part of your approval to plant something?
Yeah, usually the Shade Tree Commission will put a note in that says, you know, you'll remove this tree, but you also agree that you will plant a new tree if you're going to remove it.
And I would say make sure it's far away from the wires.
But I mean,
But do we need to put one there? It's so close to the house. If you put another tree there, then we have the same.
or do you mean possibly at some other location entirely?
I think it could just be at another location, not.
Well, we're limited, right? I mean, the oak tree that you're talking about on Harrington, I mean, that's our front, and the wires run there, you know. And ditto for Du Bois. That's where the wires run. What are we going to do?
Well, do the committee members want them to remove the tree and replace it, or are they fine with them just removing it?
Well,
Christine?
we think of different options. Someone else go ahead.
No, go ahead, Dwight. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Different options inclusive of small planted trees where wires are overhead. And I think there's a list of small trees that are acceptable as well. Or just management. Professional tree management can cut back, prune, and reshape trees to stay clear of overhead wires, of gutters, of buildings, and so forth. So there are options. Your honey locust and silver maple, can be managed in a way that keep them cut back from the corner of your house or the gutter. They can also be cut back from the wires or the street. So, proper management is an option.
Would proper management also be something like taking 2 of the trunks?
Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you brought that up. The 3-trunk maple. I mean, really, the preferable way to grow a street tree or shade tree is with a single stem. And reduce it to a single stem and not take it down to 10 feet, but to leave some of the lower lateral limbs, and you actually can create something that's a little bit better to look at and clear of your obstacles. It may be possible here, or it may not. I'd have to take another look.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last part.
He said he would have to take another look to be sure.
I would have to take another look before I would recommend that as option number 1. But I'm just mentioning it that it is possibility, to manage trees in this format. A 3-stem tree that's in trouble, that with clearance from either wires or street, reduce it to the single stem and reshape the crown. That could be an option. I'd have to study it closer to make sure.
Does it make sense for you to come by at a time that we can look at it with you?
Sure. This weekend is jammed up, but you can call me one evening and we'll set up an appointment perhaps for the next weekend.
Because you're not free during the week, or because we might not be?
I'm sorry?
You're busy during the week, or are you concerned that we might be busy during the week?
I'm saying I'm I'm busy with work during the week,
Okay.
and our backlog of tree work is so great that I may not be able to see
Yeah,
you
next
for
week.
another week. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, next weekend would work for us.
Great.
So do you guys want to hold off on making a decision until, so the Shade Tree Commission is actually supposed to meet on the 16th. So I don't know if members want to hold off on making a decision until Dwight can get over there and talk to them in person, and then you guys can revisit it on the 16th. Does that work?
That sounds cool. That's all right for me.
Yeah, that sounds fine. I mean, I'm sure, yeah, this will be
We'll make that
resolved.
Okay.
And we're almost there,
Okay,
right?
and then I can put Dwight and Tom in touch via email so you guys can make sure you hammer out a date.
Great. Thank
Okay.
you, Alana. Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
And then Christine, I don't think the applicant for 58 North Chestnut is here, but do you need her to be here in order for you guys to talk about that?
We can talk about it. Everybody saw it. That's Divine Insurance.
Mhm.
Right.
And we went to them, we went to them to see if we could plant a tree in the side yard that borders Broadhead. And they said no. So that was a few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. The tree that they're wanting to take down is a bit of a mess in the wires, but if they take it down, then there's no tree there, and I don't know if anything would be replaced.
Maybe we can put a chestnut tree there. This is Chestnut Street. And I even have some chestnut trees.
How big are they, Shelley?
And they're not that big right now. There's one that's about probably 4 or 5 feet. And here it is, Chestnut Street, with no chestnut trees on it except for one. How sad is that?
Can't you still make a decision and say that they can remove the tree, but they just have to replace it, and give them a date, like you have with some other ones?
Yeah.
Maybe we can call. Maybe I'll call him up and see if he will allow us to put a chestnut tree there, back from the wires a little bit.
Well, what does everybody think?
Let me weigh in on the maple tree. First of all, it's dying back pretty badly. There's not a lot of new foliage on it. Trees in this condition are usually not salvageable. I don't believe this tree is salvageable. I think you should grant the permit. However, you've got to find a way to lean on him to plant something.
Yeah.
In its place, if not in that exact location, the choice that location that Christine mentioned.
I mean, you can do that the same way, like if someone took a tree down without your permission, then Corey could fine them. I believe if they don't adhere to what you put in the final thing, then that same thing would occur, correct?
I'm not sure. I don't know if we can
That would be
mandate.
good.
Yeah, but maybe what we should do with this application, since we do have a meeting on the 16th,
You want to wait for this one too?
and maybe we can make some contact with this person and find out,
I can try to. I mean, I'll talk to him.
Haven't we in the past granted permits contingent upon their planting another?
yes, but
It's worded like that.
Yes.
The
but it's usually not 100%, but it's usually been when the person has been there. And I don't know if not being there, and it's just like, yeah, but you have to plant something else. If somebody's there, there's more of I think, a commitment to do the right thing. And if push comes to shove and somebody doesn't plant a replacement tree, I don't know what recourse we have.
I mean, they're not in compliance with a decision that was voted on by a village board. So there would be some kind of
Okay.
Yeah, or else there would be no point in you guys existing.
Right.
So I would think that there's some kind of there will be some kind of issue where the building department would press that they build something because it has to be in line with what was decided upon. I obviously have to talk to Corey about that a little bit more, but that would be my assumption, or else I would see no point in there being a decision that you guys make, you know? But we can wait for the 16th. I don't see
Well,
that.
I think we should try to talk to this person. Shelley, you and I can go, and because I have talked to, I don't know if it's this person, but the manager, and we, you know, they weren't too happy about, it was a perfect spot, and they said no. So that leads me to believe, well, not to believe, but it gives me pause that they would actually take down this tree and then put another one in. So a person to person, and then we can maybe decide on this on the 16th.
Okay.
What do you think?
Would you want to go with me, Christine?
Yeah, we'll definitely
All
go. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do that.
And maybe we could get 2 trees out of them,
Yeah.
you know? If they want to take
Maybe.
this big tree down, maybe the side spot, they might reconsider, because they didn't want to mow around it. I mean, please.
Yeah, really.
I know. So, but we all have to be here on the 16th, or we can't make these decisions.
Yes.
Now, how about if somebody writes it down and sends their decision in? Will that count?
I don't know.
No, you guys all have to be present. Although I think we might have another member, so that will be helpful.
Who's that?
Oh, good.
Ariana, you know Ariana, right?
Bosco?
Yeah, her boyfriend who used to sits on the historic preservation right now, but he's gonna resign from that, and I think he's interested in sitting on the shade tree.
Cool. Does he want to be chair?
I don't think so, but you can always ask him.
Okay, so do we have anything else? Oh, there's the code revision. Oh, so this application, are we okay with it?
Yeah, so you're just coming, you didn't make any decisions because you decided you'd rather talk to them and maybe have them at the meeting on the 16th.
Yes.
So that's fine. And then the village code, I was explaining to Christine, the village board has it on their agenda for the 8th. And then hopefully, Christine, you can do that. You can go to their meeting, and if they have any questions, you can answer it there. And then it can kind of get pushed forward more.
Okay, there aren't that many changes. It's just, just sort of cleaning it up a little bit, making it.
Yeah.
Well, there is a very essential point, and Christine, let me just run it by you again. It's the word cut.
Cut, yep. We took it out.
You know, if you want to cut a tree, you have a permit. Well, I can take a pair of hand pruners and cut a 1/4 inch diameter twig or limb that's, say, diving into the sidewalk. Do I need a permit for that? Later on in the code, it asks homeowners to maintain clearance from the trees in the sidewalk, clearance from and to maintain public safety by pruning dead material.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm wanting to clear up is that these kinds of activities should be able to be done without a permit.
Mm-hmm.
That the permit is required only when one wants to remove a tree or disfigure a tree by cutting it in half or topping it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what we removed the word cut in a few places so that would not be in there anymore, and that somebody could take, hand clippers and just have no problem with cutting something that just needs to be removed so that somebody doesn't poke their eye out. So I'm hoping that this.
Well, more than that. For example, the doctor on North Oakwood complained about the sugar maple in front of his house, how it was creaking. Well, there was some dead material at the top that was rubbing. And basically pruning the dead material, cutting back from his upper story windows, elevating the bottom of the tree, made him very happy. The tree looks great. It's actually healthier.
Yes.
This is just maintenance pruning, and really shouldn't require going to the village board, requiring a permit. And in a sense, it discourages people from thinking about maintaining their trees. So I just wanted to make that clear. The word it means different things to different people. So we should narrow it to just remove and or top and disfigure.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much what we did, I think.
Right, but they had questions about it as if they didn't understand why should we go through all these to just make a simple change. And the essence of homeowners need to be able to maintain their trees through pruning and cutting without a permit. That's my contribution there.
Well, and it's good that you have put those in those words, because I'll go to that meeting, and if there's a question, I can then sort of tell them what you just said. Cut is many things, and that's what I was trying to get across.
Yeah, is it cut down? Is it cut back? Is it just cut a little, or is it cut to the ground?
Right.
Well, what if you used the word clip or added the word clip that altering the shape of the tree could be achieved by using hand clippers on small enough branches?
It really doesn't have to do with size. Sometimes you have to make a big cut. For example, on North Manheim, next door to Lovesta Garden.
Oh, yeah.
Sugar maple there.
Yeah.
And it brought down the whole block when some other tree company came to cut back the leader, the portion of the crown that ran over that man's house. So they took a lot of material out of the tree, but the tree remains, the main part of the crown remains, and is actually healthier and safer because of it. So sometimes it's not just the size of the cut, it's the intent. The intent was to make the tree safer, cleaner, and give it clearance from the roof. Tree remains and is healthier for it. So.
Okay.
And I think the job that Neil did in writing out the new language is excellent and will suffice.
Well, I'll try to peddle that to the board if they'll, if they'll do that. Thanks for the clarification. They're good. It's good to hear it again, so I know what to say. Are we ready?
Yeah, do you want to make a motion?
Well, somebody.
Yeah, you said that.
To adjourn, yes, let's do it.
And then Mark, yes or no?
Yes, I second that.
Shelley?
Yes.
Okay, so the meeting adjourns at 6:53 p.m. Thank you so much, you guys, for coming, and I'll send another email in a week or two about the meeting on the 16th.
The 16th, yes. And the new person, will he be with us?
Hopefully, I'm hoping actually maybe he'll get appointed at the village board meeting next week.
Okay.
I'm hoping.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you for organizing everything.
Yeah, no problem.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah,
With my phone call.
oh
Thank
yeah,
you.
no problem. I'll talk to you guys later.